Live from Las Vegas, Nevada at the KSHP Studios, this is the Michelle Mortensen Show with your host, Michelle Mortensen, the fresh and fearless voice of talk radio, taking on the liberal media, the political hacks, and so much more. It's time to nix the narrative and get to the truth the way only Michelle can. Now, here's your host, the fresh, fiery, and factual voice of politics and news, 8-time Emmy winner, Michelle Mortensen.
Fresh, fiery, and factual. No better way to describe it. Hello, everyone. Michelle Mortensen here with you for the very first episode of the Michelle Mortensen Show. Thank you so much for joining us here live at the KSHP Studios, 1400 AM, right here in Las Vegas. Maybe you're watching on Facebook. Maybe you're watching on Instagram. Maybe you're joining us on YouTube as well. However you're here, we are so glad you're here. We've got a jam-packed show for you. Of course, so much to talk about. The president was in town all weekend, and that caused a whole lot of controversy that everyone's talking about. We're going to do a deep dive into that. We're going to talk about Governor Sisolak's response to the president being here and basically his response to the COVID situation overall, which has been, in my opinion, absolutely abhorrent. But we want to hear from you about that, too. We're also going to talk about Monday Night Football. No one's really been talking about this, but there is going to be a big change happening when you tune in tonight. We will cover that as well. I want to give you the number to call if you want to join the conversation. Of course, if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, you can send your comments live. But if you actually want to be a part of the show and be on the radio portion, you need to call this number, 702-221-7283. That is 702-221-7283, and we will take your calls live. You're going to want to make sure you have that number anyway, because at the end of the show, one lucky caller is going to get some cool stuff. We are going to give away a $25 gift certificate to the Black Bear Diner. Great place for breakfast, great place for lunch and dinner. We're going to give away an exclusive Michelle Mortensen Show hat and a bunch of other cool swag. And if you want to see that hat, you need to see my co-host, Dave Menina. That's right. I'm not doing this show alone. Dave, say hello to everyone sporting the ultra cool Michelle Mortensen Show hat. Hi, Dave.
Hello, Michelle. Thank you for bringing me along on this journey to make political talk a little bit more interesting in the city of Las Vegas. We're going to do a great job with that. I'm actually a veteran at this platform. I was on the radio here at KSHP for 2 years with the Gambler's Advantage. Gave it up because for some reason sports got political, and I thought to myself, you know what, I'd actually be better at it than those guys are. But
there you go.
Glad to be with you, and we're going to make it fun.
We sure are. And we have a whole bunch that we want to talk about today. But of course, we would be really remiss if we didn't talk about probably one of the biggest stories of the weekend. And that is those two officers over in Los Angeles County, over in Compton, who were shot point blank in the head by someone who just walked up to their squad car. These guys weren't doing anything at all, shot them in the head. They were immediately taken to the hospital. And then over the weekend, which is absolutely crazy to me, over the weekend, people started protesting outside the hospital saying, "We hope you die. We hope you die." Dave, to me, that is just absolutely vile. It is absolutely abhorrent. To me, if you are one of the peaceful protesters, if you are one of the people who've been trying to make change, you need to condemn this immediately, because this type of vile behavior cannot be accepted in modern society today. That is going above and beyond, way above and beyond what is called for. And I think vile is the only word to describe it. What do you say?
I agree 100%. And I want to say those two officers are in my prayers. I know they're fighting hard for their lives. And they're going through something right now, and their families. One of them was a parent as well.
Yeah, she just came back from maternity leave.
Hard to comprehend. 14 months on the job in Compton. Just that name out there. Most people would associate it as the most dangerous place to be, and to think about all they were doing were getting ready to go out on patrol, and this happened. Prayers out to them, and yes. I don't want to dignify the people out there other than to say the most important thing is, if those folks that were protesting are going to vote, if they're not felons, I know who they're voting for. So
well, we
it's
can't ever allege who
Right.
someone is voting for.
Correct.
We don't know what people do in the voting
Yeah.
booth, but it is abhorrent. And I think
Right.
we need to have people come and condemn it. I know earlier in the day, the NAACP did not condemn that behavior. And I really believe that that's not helping anyone at all, because if we want to end racism in this country, if we want there to be equality, if we want to have honest and open conversations and really change things, that is not the way to go about it. And so if you have comments about this, we want to hear from you. Again, the number to call, 702-221-7283. We're going to start talking now, though, about the big news for Nevada. I mean, the president was in our state the entire weekend, and he was here with gigantic crowds. First, let's talk about Saturday night in Minden. That crowd was crazy huge, Dave.
I think they brought everybody from Minden for that.
I mean, people came in from California, people came in from Reno. Everyone wanted a chance to see him. It was outdoors, and no one really said anything. There wasn't a lot of negative comments on mainstream media about it whatsoever. But my goodness, as soon as he came to Las Vegas, the drama began, and we have to thank our lovely, illustrious governor, Steve Sisolak, for that, because he immediately had to go to Twitter in the most Trump-esque move you could ever make. Correct. Sisolak goes to Twitter to say, this isn't right. You shouldn't be in a building. There isn't any social distancing, blah, 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 blah. I mean, did I hit the nail on the head there?
Absolutely. You know, maybe he was emulating Trump a little, but of course, the guy he likes to emulate the most is our Western state border.
He does. Yeah. And California, I mean, even Governor Newsom, here's the difference. Governor Newsom, when Trump left here today, he went to California to go get an update on the fires. Even Governor Newsom has been complimentary to the president in handling with the wildfires for the most part. At least he certainly was in 2018. It's ridiculous that Sisolak is acting this way. The city of Henderson also came out and said, hey, they may fine the company that hosted them. What's funny about that is, well, not what's funny about it. What I want to applaud, if I may, is Ahern. Don Ahern's company is the one who hosted the Trump event in Henderson yesterday at his Extreme Manufacturing. He also, a couple of weeks ago, hosted an Evangelicals for Trump event when Paula White and other people were here. They got fined for that one. Sisolak immediately responded again by getting them in trouble when they were doing the Mrs. Nevada pageant. Yeah. I so expect Sisolak to drop the hammer on Ahern again, and I applaud the Ahern company. I applaud Don Ahern for what they're doing, because they are literally the one business in Nevada that is willing to and maybe financially able to tell Sisolak, stick it. We are going to go after our First Amendment rights. We want to be able to assemble. We want to be able to do what we need to do.
I applaud Ahern, and people, sometimes it gets lost in the weeds. Everyone that goes to these rallies are doing it out of their free will. Temperatures were being taken. The folks behind the president were wearing masks, and then on the other side, some were, some wasn't. But I think, like you said, this is our First Amendment rights. I happen to not be there. I know that you weren't either. But for those folks that went, I'm sure they had a good time. And it's an event. The president comes to your community. You feel passionate about something. There's nothing more American than turning out for something like that.
100%. And here's the problem, is that our First Amendment rights, our constitutional rights, we have just had them taken away one by one. As the president said last night, if you can go in the casino and you can gamble and you can sit at a blackjack table with 3 other people there, 4 other people there all night long, how is that any different? Correct. It's not outside. There's not all this fresh air being pumped in. In fact, there's vanilla scented air being pumped in at most of the casinos. When you get on an airplane, I've been on several planes in the past month and a half or so, and you know what? The planes are packed. The planes are packed. You cannot social distance on an airplane. We don't social distance all the time, but we arbitrarily pick and choose what's okay and what's not okay. And it infuriates me, because the First Amendment is not something that is arbitrary. It exists at all time. And we are losing our right to assemble. We are losing our right to free speech. And I don't think enough people are making noise about it. So I applaud Don Ahern, because he's fighting back. And I applaud every Republican, every conservative, every independent, every person who went last night, because they are saying that their rights matter.
Absolutely. And let's not forget, we're seeing the same thing happen in our places of worship as well. So
it's very, very arbitrary. I don't believe that our right to worship has been taken away. Our right to assemble to worship has absolutely been taken away. And I think that's one part of the First Amendment people don't talk about enough, the right to assemble. The other thing about Sisolak, what that's ridiculous is that when people were protesting here in Las Vegas, he put out guidelines, said, we want you here. Yes, please speak. Yes, have your voice heard. Here's a great way to stay safe. But whenever it's a Republican event, he acts as if all hell has broken loose and that, everyone's going to die. And He says it's so irresponsible. Here's my question to Governor Sisolak and all the Democrats who claim that they hate us so much because we're so irresponsible. What do you care if we get sick? Honestly, why do you care? Why do you care?
I think it could have something to do, and I don't want to be too harsh, but maybe the folks going to these rallies, or maybe they're contributing to our economy, which he's trying to crash. But
he absolutely has been trying to crash the economy.
That could be it.
It could be. And, it's so funny over on social media throughout the weekend, you would see people say, we don't want the president here. He's destroyed our economy. Good Googly. He has not destroyed our economy. I need everyone to remember that the only person who has kept us in an extended shutdown has been Governor Sisolak himself. Remember, it was 15 days to flatten the curve, and we are currently on day 183 of flattening the freaking curve, which has been totally and utterly flattened completely. I mean, I'm not saying that COVID's not here. COVID is always going to be here. It's not going to magically just disappear and fly away. We have to learn how to live with COVID. And that's what I don't understand about Sisolak and the Democrats' response, because their attitude is, well, we need it to be gone. We need it to be completely eradicated for us to live again. We need to stay in hiding, stay indoors, not do anything, destroy all local businesses until it's eradicated. That's never going to happen.
Yes, and it's no longer a plan of action, like you said. Staying in, and we see the mental aspect taking effect, although a lot of that writing is being heavily scrutinized right now. But just people, if you know people that are suffering through it, I would encourage everyone do buddy checks. I see a lot of that with veterans organizations I follow on Facebook. A lot of people are suffering through that. What's going on with the lockdown?
Sure. Yeah.
Reach out to those folks.
Absolutely. And the lockdown, I do want to remind everyone, just everything with COVID, we've talked a lot. We're going to talk about the Woodward tapes in the next block and the response with Trump saying, hey, I didn't want to panic everyone. But I want to remind everyone that when it comes to coronavirus, throughout this pandemic, which began, let's say, at the beginning of the year in January, the experts, the scientists, those that we're supposed to be trusting for information, they have been all wrong all over the place over and over and over again. I remember that in the beginning of this, back in February, the London Imperial College said between 2 million and 3 million Americans would die by the summer. Guess what? That hasn't happened. We haven't even reached 200,000 deaths here in America. Now you've got all these reports saying that we are going to have catastrophic numbers during the fall and winter, that we're going to see 415,000 people die by January because of the flu season. Fauci says it's going to be absolutely terrible. Why do we say that? Why do we say that? These people have been wrong over and over again. Remember back in March when everyone told us not to wear masks?
Yes.
That's always my favorite. I love showing the Surgeon General's tweet that said, stop being ridiculous. Stop wearing masks. They don't work. Oh, now you got to go everywhere with a mask because now magically they work. We have been wrong about this over and over and over and over and over again. And if we had really taken those numbers to heart about the 2 to 3 million, my God, we would have been shut down forever and really destroyed our economy. And it never came to pass. We're going to talk about that and a whole bunch more. Yes, we're going to talk about all these bombshells surrounding President Trump in the next block as well. I want to hear from you. The number to call, that is 702-221-7283. Remember, we're going to talk about Monday Night Football coming up and the big changes there and a whole lot more very soon. We're going to take a commercial break. You want more Michelle Mortensen Show? Go to www.michellemortensen.com. Welcome back to the Michelle Mortensen Show. You can catch us live on KSHP 1400 AM, Facebook, Instagram, Periscope, and so many other places that you stream, YouTube as well. We are going to talk about President Trump and all of the bombshells that dropped in the last week. Last week was a crazy week. First off, it started out with the huge news that President Trump was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, which he absolutely 100% totally deserves, in my opinion, simply because he has created peace deals that we never imagined could have happened. But I can tell you what, Dave, there is no chance in Helsinki, Finland, that he's winning that award. Do you agree?
I agree. And how quickly did Chuck Todd turn that first nomination into a far-right Norwegian legislator?
He sure
He
did.
did it as soon as I had posted.
He sure did.
He did it.
The problem for me is that the Nobel Peace Prize is really, it's not about who creates peace. It's not about who's deserving. It's literally just kind of placating to whoever is the most popular of the day. I mean, we all remember President Obama received a Nobel Peace Prize when he had only been in office for 12 days. He hadn't done anything to create peace whatsoever, yet he was given one. Here, we've now got 2 historic peace deals from President Trump, and he's been nominated, thank God, but I don't think, Antifa will win one before President Trump will ever win one.
I'll jump in with one thing, though. I'll give President Obama a compliment. When he did go and accept that award, probably gave the second best speech of his term. So I'll give him that. And he had even alluded to
he's a great speaker, so we won't take that away from him.
Right. And at least he was, he represented America well then. And then another time we'll get into.
Yeah, but this isn't about Obama right now. So I want to bring it back to President Trump, because as soon as that information dropped, liberals immediately responded with, oh, we're going to drop some bombshells. We had already had the bombshell earlier, the weekend before, with the stupid Atlantic article that literally cited people who would not go on the record, which is not quality journalism in any which way. But then when it came to that nomination, bombshells were dropped left and right. Now, only one really stuck, but I want everyone to know more than one bombshell was dropped. First, it was the Woodward Tapes, but there was also a whistleblower case over at DHS. And then E. Jean Carroll roared again with her civil litigation against the president. So 3 were dropped, 1 stuck. And it was, of course, those Bob Woodward tapes that everyone has talked about ad nauseum all weekend. Now, I was going to play a clip for you of a part of the Bob Woodward tapes. Unfortunately, we're not able to play that video for you right now, but we all know what he said. He said, hey, I'm trying to make people, not panic. I don't want anyone to panic at all. So I'm kind of downplaying it a bit. And then cue the faux outrage from the liberals and from the media immediately when he said that. I mean, it was almost like instantaneously there was going to be outrage for days.
Yes, and once again, we're going to get into so much media bias, but when we think about what happened immediately, every step the president took immediately, shutting down travel to China, liberals up in arms, I think he did all he could do. And the truth is, look, anyone that says he hasn't taken it seriously, I mean, my God, we can't move freely yet. Everything's in place that could possibly be done for people.
He didn't take it seriously to the American public in the beginning. He did call it a hoax. He was trying to calm people's fears. The problem with picking on him about that is that everybody else did too. And I want to ask Spencer, our producer, if you can play the video now of the Dems' response to COVID. You're going to see everybody from Joe Biden saying, don't panic. Nancy Pelosi saying, come down to Chinatown. You're going to see Anderson Cooper say, this isn't really that bad. It's no worse than the flu. You're going to see Democrat after Democrat, Cuomo, saying it's not even going to be that bad here. Spencer, are we able to play that video of the Dems' response to the pandemic? Let's see if we've got that. If we got it and we're rolling it, I'll shut up. But that is basically what they said was, don't panic. Joe Biden's exact words in February was, you know what, don't panic about this. Not that big of a deal. So I don't know what magic plan he had told Trump about to take this more seriously, to change things, because quite honestly, everyone was downplaying it then. De Blasio was literally on news programs saying, hey, you know what, this isn't going to affect New Yorkers that much. It's not that big of a deal. If you're under 50 and healthy, don't worry about it.
Unbelievable. And now the only folks he supports going out and about their business are protesters. So Billy de Blasio. By the way, folks, that's not even his real name. I mean, my goodness. I think he was probably my least favorite person that ran. for the Democrat nomination.
Well, he's
but
pretty much the most hated mayor in all of the world. I mean, our mayor of Portland is kind of up there as well. But nobody really likes de Blasio either. Democrats and Republicans, they all can't stand him. But it's the hypocrisy of it, and that's what one of the things we want to do here is we want to nix the narrative that you are constantly getting on the mainstream media. There's no one better to address these issues than myself, and I'm not saying that in like this Trump way of like, let me pat myself on the back. But after 18 years in TV news, 8 Emmys, there's no one who understands how news works more than this gal. And I can tell you exactly where the bias comes in. And the faux outrage that we saw from all of the media over these, well, he told people he was going to downplay it. He told people not to panic. If you do not understand by now that politicians keep things from you, you must live on another planet. Because remember, Dianne Feinstein sold a bunch of stock right before this crash happened. Senator Barr over in North Carolina, he even warned his donors, hey, like this is going to happen. They all knew. They all didn't tell you. They all didn't respond properly because they were all too wrapped up in the faux impeachment crisis that was going on at the time. And it's bombs like these. We're going to see many, many more as well. We're 50 days away from the election. What's your over under, Dave, on how many of these bombshells we're going to see?
I'm going to say lucky number 13, to be honest with you. It just seems about right. And if she's listening, I want to give a shout out to one of my favorite teachers, Mrs. Newman. She drops a lot of these things on Facebook about, and she was posting that the other day. We're just getting started. So hello, Mrs. Newman, if you're out there. Thanks for watching, and she's going to be one of our biggest fans, no question.
We are absolutely going to see a ton of more bombshells over and over and over again. I don't think that's going to end. I think the other bigger problem that we're going to face as well is talk about the vaccine. Everyone is kind of talking about the vaccine. Is it going to drop before the election? Is it going to drop after the election? Will you trust the vaccine? Will you not trust the vaccine? According to a Kaiser poll, 54% of Americans who were asked would not get the vaccine, even if it were FDA approved, even if it were completely free. And 42% of Americans said they would. Now, part of the problem with that is Kamala Harris has said, I don't really trust it either. And Joe Biden has said, well, I would get it, but I think the Trump administration has made people just have no faith in that sucker. Oh my gosh, when did all the Democrats become anti-vaxxers?
That's amazing. Yeah, they're all speaking from what they went to, which is the far left. We're here to expose it the best we can. And Dr. Fauci, when the vaccine was first out there being talked about, he had made mention that his number that he would want seemed a little bit overzealous to say 75% of people will get it, and that will in itself create a herd immunity. We can wish for the best, but I do believe we saw with Joy Behar calling out Ivanka Trump, and she said, hey, I'd get the vaccine. That the left is politicizing every little detail of this, and it's a terrible thing.
A bigger problem, though, is that the Democrats have long been the proponents and the pushers of forcing vaccinations on families, like in California, where they're forcing people to get vaccinated. And I've made no bones about it. I am pro-vaccine.
Correct.
I get
Me
my
too.
flu
Yes.
shot. I get all of that.
Yeah.
But you know what I am against? I am against this COVID vaccine, 110%. And I'm not an anti-vaxxer when I say that. I just don't believe that it's necessary for me and my family. And I very much fear it being government mandated out of fear. I can't keep up with these Democrats because 1 minute they're like, we need the vaccine. We have to have it. I'm not leaving the house until it happens. And then they're like, oh, we're getting a vaccine. I don't know. Not sure that's safe. I don't think we should have it. I can't keep up, Dave. I can't keep up.
I agree. And I think that cuts to the point as well about the CDC talking about the comorbidities a couple of weeks ago. And the truth is, to create a vaccine, knowing what the fallout is, you have to really do it for something that is deadly enough where the fallout being the 1 in 100,000 folks who are going to have a bad reaction. Is it worth it? I hope we get to the bottom of all that. And it's a very complicated situation. And at the moment, I'm not going to say I'm in favor or against getting it. Certainly in my case, I would wait a little bit of time. I'm not going to be the first one to go get it, but I would probably say to think about it as a new parent coming up, a year maybe to look at it. But then again, I'll take a poll on doctor friends I have. Right now, I think it's 3 out of 4 say to go grab it, which is about normal. I mean, certainly we see dentists only 4 out of 5 tell you that sugar is bad for your teeth.
Well,
So
and remember,
let's see what
over the
happens.
weekend, all the news came out that someone who was in the trial did have a very negative response,
Yes.
and that trial was stopped. And so I just want to remind everyone as well, when this vaccine does become available, there will inevitably be someone somewhere who has a negative reaction.
Absolutely.
And imagine the controversy that that's going to
Right.
create at that time. That is going to be complete chaos. And the problem really behind that, and this is where we want to nix the narrative of what the mainstream media does all the time. The media has created this drama. The media, with their 24/7 constant reporting of news, I need to find something that's titillating, that's going to excite people. They will bring up the vaccine over and over again, and it will immediately become an issue of, see, it's not safe. See, it was Donald Trump. See, it was the FDA doing this. We see constantly these accusations that the Trump administration is meddling with everything, from the Department of Homeland Security to the Russia investigations to the Postal Service. But when Mueller's team magically deletes all of their info from their phones, it just happened. Oh my God, I can't believe that. It is absolutely ridiculous, because they will blame everything on the president, and it drives me insane. In fact, the president actually talked about fighting COVID a few days ago, where from I believe it was on Friday, he said, we're doing really well fighting this virus. We were going to play the video for you. It sounds like we've got some video issues, so I do apologize for that. Immediately, MSNBC said, well, we don't agree. And they had Dr. Fauci on, who I can't keep up with Dr. Fauci anymore.
Yes.
One minute he's on Team Trump. The next minute he's not on Team Trump. When the Woodward Tapes comes out, Fauci immediately with John Roberts says, hey, I didn't say any of that. That doesn't sound right to me. He didn't downplay anything. Well, when the president says, hey, we're fighting the virus really well, when Fauci was before Congress, he said we were doing everything right. Now he says we're plateauing at around 40,000 cases a day and deaths around 1,000. You don't want to start off with that baseline so high for the fall. So now he's sounding the alarm of panic again.
Dr. Fauci. Spoiler for Friday's show, I'm going to have a great nickname for that man. But he is also in my prayers. I always pray for the president, regardless whether or not I agree or not. Dr. Fauci. It's hard to believe how long he's been around, actually. He started in the Reagan administration. But, I believe some of the stress could be getting to him. And he's the kind of guy, look, I got to wish him the best. But I do believe he would, some of these Hollywood interviews he's going, he needs to speak to some people that would help him communicate a little better. Throw some names out there. Maybe Frank Luntz would show him about just how one of the best books written in the 21st century, Words That Work. But he needs to do a little better, because right now he's kind of that go-to guy, and the truth is he's not
I don't
communicating.
think Fauci does a bad job communicating. Fauci is just, remember this, and I think people have just become really desensitized to this. People who are good communicators communicate well, and doctors and scientists are rarely good communicators. When you find a doctor or a scientist who communicate well, they often pivot to TV and they become commentators. We have become very desensitized to it, because Donald Trump is an effective communicator. Right. Whether you love him or whether you hate him, he has spent the majority of his life on television. Yes. He has spent the majority of his life producing great TV. So you are constantly getting sound bites. You are constantly getting moments from him. Dr. Fauci is this doctor who never should have been on TV in the first place, who is such a typical scientist who's like, well, I can't say that. Well, I can't say that. Well, we need to do more research. And he looks like he's indecisive. He looks like he's not a good communicator. The fact of the matter is he's just Dr. Fauci. He's just a scientist. But we get so used to good communicators that we demand it and expect it all the time. I mean, and even I have been, I am guilty of this as well, because I used to be able to listen to Joe Biden speak. Oh. And now I swear he's just so slow. I mean, they need to speed up the teleprompter for him, because he's just moving at a snail's pace every day.
Well, in his case, I mean, I'm doing well with not laughing into the microphone. But at any rate, with Joe Biden, hey, how friendly can I be to old Joe there? I'll say this about him. If he wasn't running for president, I'd be calling people that know him and say, hey, let's get our fella checked out for what's going on. Because he certainly lost a step even in the last 4 years. And I'd say he's lost one in the last 2. But Joe Biden, I think the debates will expose him. And that's why I'm going to say, I think as much as they've tried to get out. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want him debating. I think right now we'll be lucky if we see more than one from him. So be ready for that.
No one knows why Fancy Nancy said what she said. We want to know what you think as well. If you want to call in on the show, 702-221-7283. You're going to want to write that number down, 702-221-7283, because one lucky listener or one lucky viewer on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram will be getting a $25 gift card from the Blackbeard Diner. Michelle Mortensen shows swag, that cool hat that Dave's wearing, not the one that Dave is wearing.
Correct.
You will get a new one.
That was my line. There you go.
That is completely COVID free and germ free and all that kind of good stuff. Plus a whole bunch of other things. So make sure that you have that number down, 702-221-7283. The debates, as you just mentioned, they are coming up. They will be here on September 29th. I can't wait for us to discuss that one. I think it will be very important. It was interesting today as well, just as the Monday morning news cycle again is beginning. Everyone was talking about the number of Latino voters who are going to be voting in this election and just how darn important they are over in Florida. Bloomberg now saying he's going to send millions to Florida to make sure that Biden does indeed win. I want to remind everyone right now that Bloomberg often influences elections by pouring money into a state, and he's very effective at it. Here in Nevada in 2018, he gave millions of dollars to Democrat candidates through his PAC, Everytown USA. And as a result, the Democrats trounced on Republicans here and won across the board in 2018. So Bloomberg money is important. But here's the problem. I don't know that Joe Biden resonates with the Latino community as much as he thinks so, because many of them came from socialist countries like Cuba and Venezuela, and they don't want anything like that. And everyone ignores how much Donald Trump has invested into the Latino community. Do you know that last night he was doing a Latino for Trump's event where he was speaking with Latinos throughout Nevada who are business owners, meeting with them one-on-one? The president has been meeting with the Latino community consistently. And where's Joe Biden been? When you look at the number of deportations, when you look at what the Obama-Biden administration did to people who are trying to come to this country, there's no other team to be on other than Team Trump.
Yes, in Florida, I wish it was not even a competitive state. I think if we look at just the recent history over there in 2018, they ran their furthest left candidate ever in a general election for governor, Andrew Gillum, who my prayers are with him too. He's has some personal troubles that's been exposed, and he barely lost. I think he lost by 50,000 votes. So it's creeping up on people. Socialism is not popular in Florida, but Republicans have to get out and vote. It's going to be all about turnout there. And we have some great people representing the state in Florida. Marco Rubio, he was a guy I think highly of him, still do. Maybe needs some pointers if he's going to try to jump back in 4 years about campaigning. But also Senator Rick Scott and even Governor Ron DeSantis, former Marine and also an Ivy League graduate. He's kind of losing the war in the media, but I think they have some good leadership there. I think Trump will be able to eke it out. And also he's made Florida his home state since he got in office. So hopefully so. But I think people in Florida know the perils of socialism better than those folks at those roundtables should be leading the fight.
Sure, let's bring this back home though, because it is all about voting. And the reason why Donald Trump spent the entire weekend here in the state of Nevada is because we are just as much of an important battleground state as Florida, as Pennsylvania, as Michigan, and our 6 tiny little electoral votes are going to make a huge difference. So voting matters. And I see all the comments that are coming out on Facebook right now, and people keep saying we need to vote in person. And that is 110% true. We need to vote in person. Last night, the president talked about that as well. Make sure that you vote. And if you're mailing it in, make sure that you can check. Here's the scary thing. We don't really have a way to check. There's not some website you can go on to. You can't call up the Secretary of State's office and say, hey, did you get my vote? There really is no way to check. So the one big thing we want to remind everyone of, no matter what, is that by October 17th, when early voting begins,
important date,
you need to vote.
Yes.
And you need to vote early, because just remember back to the primary. with only those 3 freaking polling locations open, people staying in line till 3 a.m. before they could close. It was redonkulous. We have the Democrats to thank for all of that happening. And trust me, the Democrats are trying to create drama with this election again. And everyone hems and haws in the media when Donald Trump brings it up. And I will say this, he doesn't always use the best language. Like, they'll vote again. Don't do that. That is a federal felony. Don't do things like that. But you do need to be vigilant. What we need to be telling people to do is you need to vote. You need to vote early. I don't believe for one second that there are any undecided voters out there. I believe there are people who don't want to admit that they know who they're voting for. Right. I believe there are people who want to put pollsters off. I believe there's people who don't want to bring that up in their dinner conversation. But everybody knows. And if you know who you're voting for, you need to get your butt to the polls between October 17th and November 1st so that you can early vote. It might end on October 31st. I don't know. There's usually that little
30th. Yeah, 30th. October 17th to October 30th.
Good Nevada Day observed.
Absolutely,
a great day to do that as well. So we've got to vote. By the way, on our website, MichelleMortensen.com, we are going to be listing all of the early voting locations because here on this show, we really do want to push 110% the need to vote early. All right, do you hear that song playing right now?
I love it.
I think everybody but our Instagram viewers can. This is the traditional song for Monday Night Football, right? Not anymore. That's right. It's changing. Why is it changing? What's the new song going to be? We're going to play that for you in the next break. I want to hear from you. It's time to tell Michelle, what did you think of the Raiders game? What do you think of the displays of NFL players during the national anthem? What do you think about it all? Plus, 702-221-7283. Get on the phone lines if you want to win a $25 gift card to Black Bear Diner, Michelle Show swag, and so much more. We'll be back in a flash.
We're ready!
It's Saturday night and I just got paid, but that's the new Monday Night Football song. Makes total sense, right, Dave?
Hey, I do like the late, great Little Richard. I'm not sure this is his calling, though, to be going out with now Monday Night Football, Monica.
I like the song, too. I don't have a problem with it at all. But I do. I know there was a time where that, what was his name? Hank Williams Jr., right?
Yep.
He wasn't the Monday Night Football song. But for the most part, that's kind of like the iconic song of Monday Night Football.
Absolutely.
Do you think fans are going to like it? Do you think fans are going to be like, what do you, is anyone going to care at all?
I think it's the latter. Actually, the ones that will comment are probably not going to like it. It's just, it's a little bit too much.
A little
bit too out there, you know?
Yeah. I can't wait to hear it and how they change it. Maybe they add like a little, like techno EDM beat to it. Like maybe who knows what they're going to do to make it all fancy schmancy, but something's going to happen. What did you think about football weekend? The ratings were super high for the most part because people want to watch their football. Yeah. But what did you think about all the responses starting with Thursday night over into the weekend?
Yeah, well, the Chiefs were one of the only teams that allowed fans, and the Texans, as soon as the game was over, rather than talking about a poor performance, they were quickly reminded that they were booed. For one thing, they stayed in the locker room for the anthem, which, it goes back and forth. If you're not going to stand, should you stay in the locker room? Well, at least you shouldn't be walking out during it. But they were unhappy when they came together in unity. They got booed for that. I think they got booed for two reasons: being the opposing team and also not being out there for the anthem. And the truth is, it's freedom of speech. It's great, and it goes both ways.
Let's hear from Sherry right now, though. Sherry's on the line, and she wants to talk about football. Sherry, what do you have to say?
I absolutely love football. I go to games, and I'm from Minnesota, but because they decided to disrespect the flag and put a rapist on their helmets, I cannot watch.
I totally understand that. And you bring up a great point that I don't think enough women have been bringing up. Putting a rapist name on their helmet, no matter what else happened to them, that is glorifying a rapist.
Correct.
And I think any woman should be highly offended by that.
I'm extremely offended, especially when it was a child he raped. So as a mother, I'm appalled.
Exactly. As a mother, I'm appalled too. And that brings up a great point, Sherry. I think sometimes in this effort to find someone to idolize and be the face of a movement, we often pick the wrong face. We often pick the wrong name. I think it's happening more and more. Would you agree?
Yes, I think in his case, they went too far.
Yeah.
Putting him up.
Sherry, what were you going to say?
Well, I understand it's freedom of speech and I get all that, but when you're paid, I don't think so. It's the same as my work. If I came in and did all this stuff that they don't agree with, they could seriously do something because of morals. I watch you to play football. I don't watch you to stand up for something that I have a choice whether I want to or not.
Now, you said you're a huge football fan. Did you abstain from all football all weekend?
I didn't watch one game.
Not one game. And do you think you will at all this season?
Nope.
Nope. All right, Sherry, thanks for telling us what you thought. I think you brought a really great point up about the show. I think you will see people who are going to say, nope, I'm not watching. I'm going to end it. Do I think it's going to change anything overall with NFL football? I don't know. That remains to be seen. A lot of times when we say no, it doesn't change anything. We've been watching that happen with Netflix as well. A lot of people canceling their Netflix subscription because of cuties. Right. Will it get Netflix to make a change? I don't know. What do you think?
Yes, and with that show, man, we're all desensitized to an extent, but just reading about it, and like Ted Cruz, I have not seen it yet either, and I don't plan on it, but I think just from what we know, it seems terrible. Thank you to Sherry for calling in, and I think there's a sentiment out there. It could be 10% of the viewing audience feels the way she does that used to follow football, it came back too far. And for the most part, players did stand if they were on the field. So we'll have to see. Certainly they're listening. Their agents have to be telling them, they could fire the agent quick. But anyone involved in business has to be telling them long-term, your activism off the field is going to pay dividends for you more than kneeling during the flag, during the anthem.
Remember, we're going to be giving away some free stuff, $25 gift card to Black Bear Diner here in just a few minutes. So if you want to win that, call right now, 702-221-7283, or say pick me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or Twitter. I believe we're on there as well. It's hard to keep track of all the places that we're streaming. Tamala just said on Facebook, she says, I'm not watching any football. I wonder, did anyone watch the Raiders game last night? I did not watch, obviously. But I did check online this morning. The Las Vegas Raiders, they won their first game.
1-0. And
that was better than most of the time when they were the Oakland Raiders, right?
Better town, no question.
Let's see how that ends up going. All right, it is time to pick our big winner. Now, if you are the big winner and you are one of our social media winners, I will need you to direct message me and let me know how to send all this great stuff to you, because you're going to be getting a $25 gift card from Black Bear Diner. You're also going to get that hat that Dave's wearing. Not the exact hat, but Dave, show him your hat. Show him your hat. There you go.
I love it. Very, very comfortable.
Fancy schmancy Michelle Mortensen show hat, plus a whole bunch of other great swag. And it looks like we're going to pick Vern Longnecker. Vern Longnecker, you are on Facebook. You have been watching with us this morning. Thank you so much for doing that. Direct message me your address and we will send that in the mail to you. Deb just chimed in and said, you know what? She's not watching any football this season as well. I wonder if we'll actually see the ratings. Well, Thursday night, the ratings were pretty darn phenomenal. I wonder if through the weeks, we will see the ratings begin to dwindle a smidge.
One thing that happened too on Thursday night in the league is very, very powerful, but this is the first year they're really going all out to incorporate streaming viewership too. Yeah. And that is what pushed them over the edge of saying, hey, it wasn't a disaster, because the streaming viewership and the over-the-air NBC viewership added up to something that was not much of a decline. So NBC viewership, I believe, was down 15%, but they threw it all together.
But streaming is a big deal. Yes, I mean, that's why this radio show is also being streamed. Absolutely. Great segue, Dave. We're being streamed on many platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Radio Public, so many ways. MichelleMortensen.com. And you also at MichelleMortensen.com can grab yourself a cup. Do you know? Oh, let's see. Instagram folks, that's the cup. There you go. Michelle Mortensen Show cup and swag. You can get that by subscribing to the show. That's right. We are listener supported, just like PBS. We are a listener-supported radio program, which means you can donate, and you can donate or you can buy advertising for the show at michellemortensen.com. Everyone who makes a monthly donation right now signs up for a monthly donation between now and October 31st, Nevada Day official, will actually be getting one of these cool tumblers in the mail for your amazing support and dedication. I want to remind everyone that we are on Mondays. We are also on Fridays, 11 a.m. here on KSHP and wherever you choose to stream. And we have a pretty cool guest coming up on Friday, Dave.
Yes, we do. A very good predictor.
He is a predictor. He is the political astrologist. Now, before you say, Michelle, you've lost your darn mind, why are you having a political astrologist on? Because this dude, Jeff Harmon, is 100% legit. And I don't even believe in astrology or any of that. Hardcore Christian here. Don't believe in any of it. But do you know that he accurately predicted Trump's win back in January of 2016? He accurately predicted that on Obama's inauguration day, that all of the things that he did that Obama would do would be reversed. He's going to tell us what he is seeing in the stars for 2020, the November 3rd election, which is an official 50 days away. And with that, I say, buckle up, Buttercup, because these next 50 days are going to be one heck of a wild ride as we expect more bombshells, more drama, more of everything as we get closer to November 3rd.
Can't wait. A very exciting time of year. And those that are giving up on football tonight, it's a doubleheader. If you don't want to watch, guess what? We're going to get a question answered that I've been wanting to know for 6 months. Can Carol Baskin dance better than Kim Kardashian? We're going to find out tonight.
There is no way in Helsinki, Finland, that Carol Baskin is going to do better. But gosh, she could win that thing just because Tiger King was basically the thing that saved us all during the shutdown.
I'm expecting a lot of votes for that reason.
And she's crazy.
Yes.
She's crazy as everybody else who is on Tiger King. Maybe one day we'll have Tiger King talk. Wouldn't it be great to have the guy from jail on with us?
Yeah, it would be.
We'll see if producer Spence or our booking producers can make that happen. You know, it has been a great first show. Dave, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to all of you at home, all of you listening in the car. Thank you for being with us. Guess what? You're going to get to join us again on Friday, 11 a.m., same time, same channel, same bat time, same bat channel. There we go. Giving it a little retro feel with the 60s reference there. We will see you then. We're going to talk about so much more. Get used to us because we ain't going anywhere. And we are going to change the world by nixing the narrative from the liberal left. Thanks for joining us today. It's a pleasure to talk with you. Bye-bye, everybody.